needle positions on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Brilliance 80 there's a lot of them, and I love having the ability to adjust my needle, especially when I start doing decorative stitches or applique. I can truly fine-tune exactly where that needle hangs out. So when you are on a straight stitch, you'll find that where your normal stitch width options are right here, there is a 0.0. That means you're right in the center. Now, I have the needle down in the fabric. It is okay if I start to adjust this needle. See this white line? It is moving across the screen. I've got all these increments as I get all the way over to 3.5. This machine has a stitch width of 7 millimeters wide, so that's why you'll find numbers 3.5 to the right and 3.5 to the left. And I can also stitch while changing that needle position. So I'm really just making a crooked stitch as it continues to get all the way over to the far left needle position. And that is how easy it is. But that's not all I wanted to show you, because on this machine, it lets me change needle positions. There I am with my crooked stitch as I went across and while I was sewing. Let's pick a zigzag. So a zigzag is centered, and it's not very wide here. If you see at any time this little white bubble underneath a setting, we have one right here as well. But right here, this is where stitch width is. So if I made it wider or narrow, I would get a wider or narrow zigzag. But if I touch that little white toggle switch, you will see that the needle position choice comes up. What I would be able to do is shift the stitch to the far right or far left or any place in between. Right now, that little black dot at the top is where my needle is going to stitch. So if I was trying to line that up or use that with one of the red lines on the presser foot, it would help me guide where I was going. So you have that ability. Now here's a little trick when we get to decorative stitches. Let's find a decorative stitch that I know comes up like the full 7 millimeters wide. So when I go to the needle position, it is already the fullest width of the foot, so I'm not going to be able to move that at all. What I could do, if I wanted a little narrower stitch, when I touch that toggle switch, I would have the option to move that left or right, just enough to get it to the side. So that would be the only thing you would need to do if you were changing something. But there's so many stitches that are not full size, and that is another one that you might like to have it a little bit to the left or right. Just depends on what you're doing, depending on what decorative foot you have on or where you're stitching in accordance of your applique or project. So just know that if you see a little white toggle, that will indicate that there's something else in that area that it will switch to. So in this case, needle position when you have zigzag or stitch width stitches. So once again, if you want to go back to a straight stitch, pick stitch number 1. Everybody will be cleared out. All those settings go back to normal when you select the stitch.